It's a blustery day in Edinburgh, and you're listening to a story I should have given more thought to. Hiya, this is Half-Baked Tales, where I write and share one halfway thought-through short story every week. They are not always good, but they are always on time. Last week, I invented a new fantasy world named after the Greek word for addicted. And this week, we're getting to know that world a bit better. Go back to last week's podcast for part 1, or just dive in. Here is Half-Baked Tale number 21, Will the Sun Set, part 2. Ethysmenos is landlocked. It shares a border with 3 other countries, Aurida, Domida, and Kathrida. None are as old or storied as Ethysmenos, but all profit from their proximity to the golden land where the sun never sets. Since the beginning of time, the powers that be in the world fought over access to the unique Ethysmenos. The current trend of tourism has made Ethysmenos increasingly profitable. Aurida, Domida, and Kathrida have a strong treaty to share and keep the wealth poured in from tourism amongst themselves. At this moment, a thunderstorm is rolling through all 3 countries. Lightning is cracking against the night sky, and in Domida in particular, the hilled and cobbled streets are flooding. Though Aurida, Domida, and Kathrida do not benefit from eternal sunshine, though the sun does set on their lands, their proximity to Ethysmenos gives them a climate of typically beautifully clear weather. Only once every few decades are they hit with a storm like the one they're seeing tonight. Domida is flooding. Folks are taking refuge in small shops and pubs to keep their feet dry and wait out the rain. The drops are heavily bombarding the roof, creating a lovely, cozy atmosphere in a local pub on a particularly steep and now slippery street. The patrons are all perfectly happy for the excuse to enjoy another drink and stay dry by the firelight, except Geoffrey, who is feeling like the rain is his personal punishment. Geoffrey is perched on a stool by the window and is watching the dark, swirling clouds for a sign of the sunlight which would be his savior. He purchased a drink after being scolded by the barman, but it's going stale on the table before him. Unusual behavior, as he's partial to a pint, but his focus is stuck on the weather. The incessant tapping of his foot, a result of his shaking leg, might have bothered his neighbors on a better day, but today customers are easy to forgive. There is a camaraderie formed when extenuating circumstances present themselves. Terrible weather is quite the oddity for a Domida citizen. There are certainly worse places to be stuck for it than in a pub. That's what they're all thinking, except Geoffrey. His thoughts are with the group of politicians he had sent over into Ethysmenos this morning. Geoffrey is a travel agent for the Domida to Ethysmenos tourism industry, the most profitable industry in the bordering countries. He manages travel experiences for foreigners coming to experience Ethysmenos by arranging transportation to Domida, lodging within the city, and the process of getting in and out of Ethysmenos within the cycle of a day. Today's group consists of a wealthy contingent of foreign politicians visiting Domida to agree on a new trade deal with the government, clients who are to be given golden treatment. The best transport, spotless accommodation, first-class meals, and Geoffrey, a trusted, dedicated agent with 15 years' experience. All was supposed to go swimmingly, the trade deal made and a bit of investment for Domida's travel industry secured. And then, on Geoffrey's watch, it had started to rain. Domida's infrastructure is not built for rain, and all travel has stopped. Geoffrey's assigned tram driver informed him about an hour ago, when he would have liked to begin the process of entering Ethysmenos, that she would not leave until the rain cleared up. Her name is Lacey, and she has a tendency to get mad. She's a driver on the Domida tram service and boasts a fragile temperament from it. The woman is stubborn as sin, and it was with stubborn eyes that she had stopped Geoffrey's protests to leave. She had told him, "The trams will not run on wet tracks. I'm actually doing you a favor," before downing her pint with a firm maintenance of eye contact. They weren't going anywhere. She ignored him after that, turning her back to continue conversation with other patrons. Geoffrey would have expected no less. Though they'd worked together for years, Lacey and Geoffrey are not friends. They both work on the tram lines, but not in the same department. There are many departments: drivers, system operators, maintenance, ticketing, travel agents. The departments that deal with the tram machinery stick together, as do the departments that deal with the passengers. The former get infuriated with any disrespect of the machinery or its processes. The latter bristle at the rigid rules, unwilling to be bent for convenience and luxury. Geoffrey, for the past 15 years, has been a travel agent. It is no wonder the two don't get along. It's built into their bones. Unable to take the waiting any longer, Geoffrey stands suddenly, knocking his drink over in the process. The barman shouts after him, but Geoffrey is quick out the door. He never carries a coat, so he pulls the collar of his shirt up to shield bits of his face as best as he can manage. The rain hits him in bullets and his comfortable shoes slide on the pavement. Usually a stickler for professionalism in his attire, he takes comfort in the knowledge that the entirety of Dalmida would be soaked to the skin as well. His walk to the border crossing point is long, and the rain is not stopping. What feels like ages later, cold and miserable, he finally looks up to the imposing wall marking the border of Dalmida and Ethis-Menos. Passage into Ethis-Menos is ticketed, expensive, and highly controlled. Therefore, Dalmida and its two neighboring countries border their cities with walls as physical barriers, with key checkpoints for entry and exit. They are tall, powerfully built, and a common sight for Geoffrey. But today, stood in miserable weather which he is not at all accustomed to or prepared for, he has stopped dead in his tracks. There's a crease in his brow and his head is angled towards the top of the wall. Where usually there is open, sunny sky, a peek at the beauty of Ethis-Menos, there is now a misty barrier extending up indefinitely from the wall. It undulates and ripples as it's hit by Dalmida's rain, which slides down and pools at the base of the wall, not daring to touch the Ethis-Menos side of the border. Through it, Geoffrey can make out bits of Ethis-Menos sunshine prevailing. In Geoffrey's 15 years in Dalmida, it has never rained. So never before has he seen the usually imperceptible Ethis-Menos border working so hard to keep the outside world out. That was Half-Baked Tale number 21, Will the Sun Set, Part 2, a continuation from last week's story. This past week, I found myself so interested in Ethis-Menos and was obsessively rolling through plot devices to develop it further, and I would have preferred not to share this continuation and work on it a little bit more, but every time I tried to work on something different, Ethis-Menos just forced its way back into my mind. And that's the point of this series, isn't it? So, I predicted I'd be moving forward with plot before doing any more world building for this, but I was dead wrong, and it's all for the better. Establishing the outside impacts on Ethis-Menos and getting to know the characters who interact with it has given me so many ideas for introducing the main character and developing her endgame of saving the poor Ethis-Menites. I really struggle with cohesively structuring an interesting plot with a beginning, middle, and end. While writing this week, I kept reminding myself to increase the stakes for Jeffrey and set him up to experience his own mini story. I was trying to pull from other novels that start with an establishing character that doesn't return or isn't a main focus after that first chapter. And one example I was thinking of is Ashurbanipal in Elif Shafak's There Are Rivers in the Sky. That first chapter introduces us to all the elements that Shafak weaves through her 3 main storylines, though we don't have to return to Ashurbanipal at all. Yet, still in that chapter, he experiences an entire little story. My expertise is in acting, so I'm good at finding the character and relying on a script. And with my writing, I need to get better at conflicts and interesting resolutions with a clear structure. This story is truly half-baked. There's so much in it that I want to change, especially the names for Ethysmenos' 3 bordering cities. I literally just made up sounds. I wanted them to sound mildly related to each other, so they just all got that Ida ending. But the tourism-focused industries in these countries is inspired by Edinburgh, Amsterdam, Venice, Kyoto, the Grecian islands, all these places where the tourism industries both fuel and gut the industries of the people living there. I'd like to name my countries, Alfrida, Domida, Kathrida, in a way reflective of that duality, and perhaps make it a bit Americanized to contrast the ancient austerity of Ethysmenos itself. But we'll get there. I also realized while I was reading, I sometimes said Joffrey instead of Jeffrey, but I'm not sure how many times I did that. So, we'll deal with it. I love writing these. I love speaking them out loud. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.